So we'll go ahead and get started. Wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. We do appreciate you being here and providing your feedback for the Parish project. We will be having a neighborhood meeting tonight to discuss the project and get the public's input. So my name is Angelica. I work as a planning technician for the city of Vacaville. We also have Fred on the line. He is the acting director of community development. And Fred, would you like to say a quick introduction?
Thank you. Yes. Well, again, welcome to everyone who's joined us. The neighborhood meeting we're conducting tonight, we're hoping to give you a background and a history and a description of the Parish project, which is a residential project proposed on Vanden Road at the future extension of Cogburn Circle. And as you might have seen in the mailer that we sent out to many of the neighbors, we'd like to also describe for you the approved park master plan for Magnolia Park's expansion and discuss the issue of neighborhood commercial uses in the area, neighborhood serving services that people may want to talk to us about, and we have mentioned in some of the city's mailers to the neighborhood. So tonight, Angelica will be doing the presentation about the proposed project, the Parish residential project. We'll be going through that description. We'll also be joined by the developer, Jessica Wong Kane from Agape, the development company, and her architectural team, Chelsea Richardson and Katie Yost, and also her land development specialist engineer, Tom Filippi, who also has a background in the original land planning for the Southtown area. We also have with us, I believe, on the line, the city's park planner, Jim Simpson, in case there are detailed questions about the future of Magnolia Park. So I think that concludes my introduction. I hope we get good information out to you all, and we're looking forward to hearing your comments about the projects.
Thank you, Fred. So as Fred mentioned, tonight's meeting really is meant to be a community meeting where staff will be able to gather input from the community on this project. And just to clarify, there's no decision that will be made on the project tonight. That will come at a later time. We will definitely send notice for those dates. This is just really designed to allow the public to just get an understanding of the project and provide their feedback. So tonight's meeting is a remote meeting, and we do want to hear from the community, so there will be an opportunity to speak during the open discussion portion of the meeting, which we'll be having a bit later on. We're going to go through the presentation, and then a bit later on, there will be definitely an opportunity to ask questions, provide your comments, and you can also type in the question in the chat. There is a chat function that you can type in the question as you have them, and then we will do our best to answer the question towards the end of the presentation, and we can always refer back to the slides if you have a question on a slide that we go through. So if you would like to comment on the project, or if you have a question, please raise your hand. You might have to also unmute yourself after we mute you. So just keep that in mind for when we get to that part of the meeting, that you will have to raise your hand so that we can go through the questions and call on you. Next slide, please. So the agenda for tonight's meeting includes a description of the project proposal. We will be reviewing the zone change request and also share the proposed house plans for the project. We will also be providing information on Magnolia Park and have that open discussion that we had mentioned on the project, and also talk about some potential commercial uses, but we'll get to that a bit later on. Next slide, please. The project proposal is a request to convert an existing approximately 2-acre parcel from neighborhood commercial to medium residential density for the construction of 21 single-family homes. And you can see the area that we are talking about. It's highlighted in red in this exhibit. Next slide, please. So the project does include a general plan and a zone change request to change the designation from neighborhood commercial to residential medium density. And you can also see the project site highlighted in red here. Next slide, please. So here you can see the proposed layout for the project, including the proposed home locations, as well as what access will be provided. You can definitely view the full set of project plans by going on the link that's provided on here. So you will be able to just hopefully click on that link. I think there's an option for that where you can click on the link and then open it up. If not, you might be able to just type in that website and then pull up the plans on your end if you're interested in seeing the full complete set of the project plans. Next slide, please. These are the proposed front elevation designs for the houses. They will include 3 house plans with 3 elevations each. Next slide, please. So we did want to go ahead and talk about Magnolia Park. Revisions to Magnolia Park are not a part of this project, but we wanted to include a slide that further explains the approved Magnolia Park in hopes that it helps clarify any questions you might have. The applicant is not requesting to alter, delete, or reduce Magnolia Park. The western portion is complete, and there is a park agreement that is being finalized. And I believe we have Jim on the line, who's the park planner, so he might be able to also answer questions if you have specific questions on Magnolia Park. The City Council did approve community uses in the northeast area of this oval. It's outside of the area that is designed to be a park. Some of the uses that were highlighted to go here are schools, membership organizations, senior centers, and there's also the fire station, which is already built. But there is no revision to the park size proposed with this project. Next slide, please. So within Magnolia Park, there is that area that I was just mentioning that is designated for community uses like schools, senior centers. So this is not something that is being proposed by the applicant for the project, but staff was hoping that we would be able to explore the idea of adding commercial uses to this section. It's the section that's highlighted in red that you can see there on your screen. It's not a part of the actual park itself where everything in the park will be laid out. It's the area where the community uses would go. So we would like to reach out to you to see if there's any neighborhood services you'd like to see added to this area. Because if the zone change request is approved, the commercial area within Southtown would no longer be provided. So we would like to see if the community is interested in adding uses like a coffee shop, a fitness studio, restaurant in the community use area so that you still have access to some of those neighborhood serving uses. We do understand that there's a concern with certain uses going in, like a convenience store. The city does have authority to limit these types of uses. So we were hoping that maybe you'd be able to let us know what your thoughts are on potentially having any changes or no changes to the community use area, and see what feedback we can get. So before we go into the open discussion portion of this meeting, I would like to give the applicant an opportunity to introduce themselves. I believe Jessica is on the line. If she's on the line, maybe she can give a quick introduction now. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I represent the developer. We have done a couple of projects in the area and are in progress. Potter's Court, there are 6 houses that we built there and 12 units on the north side of the street that are currently in progress. And yeah, we're excited about this potential change. We think that residential would be a better fit for that space and are interested to hear from the community, as Angelica mentioned, in terms of like what the community wants to see in this parcel that is adjacent to the park.
Thank you for that introduction, Jessica. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide and open the discussion. So we will be talking about if you have any comments, feedback on the project proposal itself to change the designation from neighborhood commercial to residential. That's one area where you can comment on and provide your feedback on, because that is the project proposal. Or you can also, if you have feedback, thoughts on commercial uses and potentially adding some commercial uses to that community use area that we were just talking about. So any questions, comments? Let's go ahead and see if, Christina, do you know if there's any comments or any raised hands?
I have not received any chat comments, and at this time, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. So if we have Jim on the line, I'm wondering if we can go back to the Magnolia Park.
We do have Jim.
Okay. Maybe we can just, if Jim can provide an update on the status for the park, that might be helpful.
Yes, hi, this is Jim Simpson. I think Fred and yourselves touched on it with that we are working with the developer on a potential park agreement, and that would see that the park gets built, depending on the agreement. It might be built sooner rather than later in terms of the way the city funds the parks, and would follow through on that. There are a couple of relatively minor adjustments to the existing park master plan that we would be going out to the community with in the future here. Those include the central shade shelter as a round gazebo type shelter on a raised platform in the proposed or in the existing master plan. And the proposal would be to convert that to a ground level group picnic type shelter rather than a gazebo. And it also has to be relocated slightly one direction or the other, because the existing water line that runs through Vanden Road will not be abandoned. I think that was the sewer lines and the water lines will not be abandoned, and so we can't construct the structure over those. So we'll have to relocate it slightly one direction or the other to avoid the footings being over the existing utilities there. In addition to that, just north of that, there is included in the approved master plan a driveway and parking area associated with the firehouse. It's pretty much contained within the existing abandoned road easement area. Yes, correct. And that was not constructed. The firehouse was constructed slightly differently, and they did not need that area for parking or driveway ingress egress. So we will be incorporating that portion of the future development into the park plans. At this time, we don't know exactly what that might entail, but it will be incorporated into a revised master plan. In addition, I think you touched on the possibility for the types of uses that might go into the community use area there, including some commercial uses. And again, we would sort of like to be able to incorporate or acknowledge some of those types of uses in the development of the perimeter of the park there, so that instead of just walling off or fencing off that shared property line, that perhaps, if a restaurant or some sort of a office type complex were to develop there, that they would orient themselves to the park, and then we could potentially have some sort of a open view, open vantage, and even maybe shared access at limited locations for that particular part of the property. Again, that's not anything we can design into it at this point, but we would be open to that possibility in the future. The youth soccer open play area and youth baseball and basketball courts would still be included in the future phase. We may move the locations around slightly, again, because of what may have to occur with walkways and other improvements there. So I think, I think we're looking at adding a smaller group picnic shelter to balance out the shelter that's built on the west end of the park there. So it's somewhere around the end of the youth soccer open play area there. There's, I think, a cluster of about 3 picnic tables, and we may incorporate that into another covered picnic shelter kind of an area, just to balance out that central core. I think that highlights all the potential modifications and or changes that we're looking at right now. We will, at some point in the future, there'll be a consultant brought on board that will actually work on this through public information and presentations and through the Parks and Rec Commission and council and commissions that may need additional reviews.
Thank you for that update, Jim. So maybe we can go back to the commercial use slide and see if there's any feedback. We would like to hear from the public. I don't know if the applicant's team is here, if Tom's available. Maybe he'd also like to give some input on this. I'm not seeing any hands. So maybe we can go to the house design slide, and if the applicant wouldn't mind, the architect team wouldn't mind, maybe you can describe just the house design a bit more. That'd be great.
So for the house design, like you mentioned earlier, there's only 21 lots, but we wanted to make sure that the community had a lot of variation in architectural styles. So we included 3 distinct styles that are very traditional to California. But specifically, we really wanted them to relate to the agrarian culture and tradition of the area. So you'll see we have a California ranch style, a prairie style, and a farmhouse style. And each of these integrate, a variety of materials and colors. So it'll be a really vibrant community. The houses themselves are alley loaded, which gives us a great opportunity to really enhance the fronts. It'll provide an amazing streetscape without, the eyesore of the garage door at the front. And like I said, lots of different materials. We're integrating siding as well as some veneers such as brick and stone, just to really create a really visually appealing community for this area.
Thank you so much for that description. If we have any questions, I'm not seeing any raised hands. Christina, do you see any on your end?
No, I still show no chats and no questions over here.
Okay.
Would a description of the subdivision map and how the project will be laid out be helpful perhaps to neighbors watching? And perhaps Tom, I don't know if you're available online, if you'd like to describe how that would work, where cars would go in and out and that sort of thing.
Yes, I'm on the line. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I think if we were to turn to sheet 2 in the map, I don't control the screen. There we go. I think it's important to understand that the entire concept that goes back to 2004, as Fred, you indicated, I was the original land planner, civil engineer for the project. The one thing we wanted to make sure that we had throughout this community was houses facing the park. We felt like there would be more of a neighborhood feel, a neighborhood ownership, if you will, of the park if we had all of the homes facing the park. And so to that end, if you, through all the communities that have been built so far, you'll notice that the driveways don't face the park, nor do any of these houses back onto the park or back up to the park. They all have a front door that faces the park. And so this design is in keeping with that concept and that theory. There's a small driveway behind the homes that front on Cogburn Circle, and then a couple of minor fingers that go up to the north. The homes on the north half of the project would all face a Paseo or Vanden Road or the Planners Way Street on the east side. So the concept again is let's have the homes face the park, have it be an open community, that we think would be really desirable. We think this is one of the key features in the entire Southtown area. So that's how the plans were developed. The site plan was developed that way, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you for that description, Tom. I don't believe we have any questions yet, but maybe we can put up the slide where our contact information is. You can also definitely, later on, if you think of something, you can definitely email, call, provide us your comment and feedback, because we definitely would like to hear from the community on this project, and also on the potential for adding certain commercial uses to that community use area. So we are hoping we will get some feedback. Fred, is there anything else you'd like to?
Well, I think we'd just like to let everyone know that we would like to return and do a second one of these community meetings online for you. Our date for that is July 9th, 7 p.m. I think we put the access information on the mailer that was sent out to the neighborhood, and that would also be available on our website. And like Angelica said, we really would enjoy hearing from any neighbors who have comments and ideas about the project, about the uses that Angelica described, and any other things of import to the neighborhood out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. So maybe we can go to the contact information slide.
Yes.
And if there's no other raised hands, we can just follow up on the July 9th meeting and see if we get some comments and feedback before then.
And we would like people to know, do contact us at any time, any types of questions. So you see the emails there for your three main contacts at the City Planning Division. And again, we really do appreciate it when you do weigh in and provide us with your comments. When we proceed to the Planning Commission or the City Council for hearings, which both bodies will review this project eventually, we always make sure they're aware of the comments we've received from neighbors. If you send us written communications, they always receive copies of those communications. And so you should know that any information and ideas you do send to us will make their way to the decision makers. So as they consider projects in public hearings, they're aware of what you've brought to our attention through the development review process.
So I do see that we have a raised hand from Nolan. So I believe you might be able to speak up, Nolan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're unmuted. Yeah.
Hey, so a question, kind of just a more procedural question. We can't see the other attendees tonight. How many folks actually called in is my question. It's not really related to the project itself, but I'm curious, what is our attendance tonight in terms of folks that are watching this webinar?
So we had 6 attendees, and I believe they are all planning commissioners or council members.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not seeing something else. So maybe we can just follow up on the July 9th meeting and see if we get any feedback before then. I think that'll be it for tonight, unless there's something else.
No, I can't think of anything. Thank you, Angelica, and everyone else.
Yeah, thank you all for attending. And I guess we'll see each other on July 9th.